This morning, Super Communicators. It's a new book by a Pulitzer Prize winning author who sold more than 10 million books, including The Power of Habit. Charles Duhigg has been a journalist for 2 decades, covering everything from wars to financial meltdowns. In both his personal and professional life, he noticed some people seem to be doing it better than others, namely, handling conversations. So he set out to discover why.
Human beings have evolved to be good at communication. We've evolved to be super communicators. The communication has been Homo sapiens' superpower. But we evolved in a very different time, right? Pre-internet, pre-politics.
Charles Duhigg believes in the last few years, humans have abandoned our biggest advantage.
We've forgotten how to communicate. Some of the things that we used to be so good at have fallen out of our lives.
Super Communicators takes a look at people who seem to be able to connect with anyone and why they're so good at it. It's a skill Duhigg believes is badly needed today.
It's not like we're asking you to be a superhero or lift a car with your bare hands. It's having a conversation where you're thinking to yourself I'm not sure I want to talk to that person. I'll just go over and I'll ask them a question.
A couple things put Duhigg on this path, like when he was named a manager at the New York Times and realized he was good at developing strategy, but terrible at explaining it. Or when his dad passed away.
You got a lot of people saying, I'm sorry, but you said nobody was asking you questions.
Yeah, I was desperate to talk about it. And anyone who's lost a parent or anyone else knows that it's one of these hugely meaningful moments, and then you come back from it and you tell people that it's happened, and they say, I'm sorry, or, my condolences, and then they move on to other topics.
Duhigg's book jumps from the CIA recruitment process to jury selection to how astronauts are picked, why the Big Bang Theory worked on TV, and how Netflix handles controversy.
One of the things that we know about people who are super communicators, consistent super communicators, is that they tend to ask a lot more questions, 10 to 20 times as many questions as the average person. Some of the questions are so slight, hey, what do you think about that? Or oh yeah, what'd you say next? These invitations to come into a conversation. We don't even register them.
I feel like as we're doing this, you're judging my ability as a super communicator.
I am not.
Or not.
I am not. You're very good. You're asking questions, which is the #1 thing, right?
At the University of Chicago Booth Business School, we watched as an experiment played out.
In just a minute, I'm going to have you get up. I'm going to pair you up with another person.
A group of total strangers were randomly paired up and asked to discuss 4 deep questions. What in life are you most grateful for? If a crystal ball could tell you anything about your future, what would it be? If you were going to become a close friend with someone, what's the most important thing for them to know? And when was the last time you cried in front of another person?
I'm notoriously a horrible crier. So I also, once I start, get overwhelmed that I am.
The questions led to immediate anxiety in the room.
I feel that's a kind of private question.
I feel the same way.
Then people started talking.
So if the crystal ball can tell you anything on the planet, you want to know if your crush likes you back. Yeah.
What University of Chicago professor Nicholas Epley has discovered after doing experiments like this thousands of times is that expectations for how a conversation is going to go are very different than how it actually did.
It was what I expected in my head, where it's uncomfortable, but it feels meaningful.
My conversation partner was very, very sharing and very honest.
At the end, I wanted to give her a hug and tell her thank you. And I was
I think she'd have given you a hug.
I think she would have.
In short, people, when open to it, can connect really, really fast.
What you can tell with an experiment, when you average across a lot of people, is you can pull out the consistent signal. And the consistent signal that we find is that when people sit down and have a conversation with somebody, it tends to go better than they expect it will, and that signal is very powerful. You ended up liking the person more than you thought you would, you ended up enjoying the conversation more than you thought you would, and you also ended up having more in common.
Everybody thinks that the person they've assigned to is their soulmate partner.
Yep, absolutely.
And it would have happened with
Yep.
the other person.
In all likelihood, to a similar extent. In the experiment, people are randomly assigned to each other. So it's not that they were lucky to have been paired with somebody else. It was purely random. But it doesn't feel that way. These results are just relentlessly robust. We see this over and over and over and over again.
Why does this subject fascinate you so much?
Why would you study anything else? How can it not? We are fundamentally social human beings.
Yeah.
We are built down to the ground to connect and engage with others. But it strikes me there's just a fundamental paradox at the core of social life. We are happier and healthier when we connect with others. Yet look around out in the world. There are lots of opportunities to engage and connect with other people that they just don't take. Almost any time you're considering reaching out and trying to connect with another person in a positive or meaningful way, we hold ourselves back a little too much.
When we're able to super communicate, are there things that are happening to us physically, not just mentally?
Yeah. So in this conversation, we're having a conversation right now. Neither of us are aware of this, but our pupils have started dilating at the same rate. And our breath patterns have started to match each other. And our heart rates have started to match. And most importantly, your brain waves, your neural activity, is starting to look like my neural activity and vice versa. Within neurology, this is known as neural entrainment, that we become neurally synchronized.
Are super communicators born or made?
Super communicators are absolutely made, and anyone can become a super communicator. We all know these people, right? They're the person that we call after a bad day who makes us feel better.
Yeah.
Our brains crave connection.
And in the end, being a super communicator keeps you alive longer.
Oh, absolutely. The single most reliable indicator of whether someone will be healthy and happy and successful at age 65 is having strong relationships at age 45.
So they do these experiments on people, and first you talk about extroverts. They ask extroverts what they think the best part of their day is going to be. And the extroverts say, when I spend time with other people. They ask introverts, and they say, what do you think the best part of your day is going to be? They say, when I'm alone, right? Turns out the extroverts are right, the introverts are wrong. In both cases, when they test people, the best part of their day, no matter what you think you are the times you're with other people and are sharing that time with other people.
That's amazing. The synchronization of mind and breath, does that bring everyone into an equilibrium? If someone's like more hyper or someone's, more
like when they're having those conversations?
Does it bring them into an equilibrium, or does it bring one to that state and another to that?
I guess maybe all to a level where
you just
they
connect
can
somewhere.
That was that was so fast.
Did you feel very connected as you were doing those interviews?
When he's talking about our pupils are dilating at the same rate and our brains are on the same wave right now, that's a little mind-blowing to think about.
That is.
When you're talking to someone, but it's also cool to think
It's really
right?
cool.
That you can connect with someone, and also how quickly you can connect with someone if you're open, right?
Well, first it just takes the eye contact. You look at someone in the eye.
Yeah.
And really, you feel them, right?
But also, we do this for a living, and it explains why sometimes you really feel connected with the people whose stories you are sharing.
But the biggest thing is the questions, asking questions.
Asking questions.